Hello, and welcome to BIA's Leading Local Insights podcast, your go-to spot for staying ahead in the dynamic local advertising marketplace. You'll hear BIA's top experts and their distinguished guests break down the trends, technologies, and innovations reshaping local media. Plus, you'll frequently get highlights from BIA's U.S. local advertising forecast. Thanks for tuning in. Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome to BIA Advisory's Leading Local Insights podcast. I'm Rick Ducey, Managing Director at BIA Advisory Services, your source for local market media intelligence, insights, data, and strategies to grow your business. Today we're going to talk about building digital-first sales teams at legacy media organizations, and specifically how local TV sellers can expand their knowledge and skill set to get into developing digital revenue growth, leveraging the value they can deliver from local TV stations into campaign activations using all of the digital assets that advertisers and agencies are now looking for. So in local advertising, digital remains the growth engine for advertisers and media, and audiences for that matter. Marketers and agencies are leveraging the strength of digital with its ability to target, get performance data with the high volume attraction of audiences and still brand trust in traditional linear media like broadcast TV, but now in cross-platform strategies, planning, and activations, and then optimizations and assessing outcomes. And outcomes is really what's that's no longer the tail wagging the dog or whatever animal we should talk about. It's the thing. You know, we're really looking for outcomes now. And so how do we do that? That's one of the things we're going to be learning here. For example, BIA forecasts that about 20% of the $182 billion that will be spent in advertising this year in 2026 will be spent on local cross-platform video. Video is a particularly hot space. Audio is showing up, but video, both the short-form video like TikTok and Threads and so on, but also long-form video, both linear and digital, streaming TV as well as broadcast TV. That video impression is super powerful on the TV set, and that's one of the things we'll be tracking today. And that gets complemented with other tools in the whole advertising arsenal of linear and digital. And the challenge is really, how do we put this together most effectively and compellingly, both to tell a client story and to deliver on that story in terms of what kind of customer or prospective customer response we get back. So how are we going to learn all about this? Well, luckily today we have Stephanie Slagle, who is VP CRO with Graham Media. And Stephanie had been building, again, a digital-first sales team to represent Graham now, to better serve both your current and prospective client bases, looking for revenue growth, of course, in their base in broadcast TV, but really looking for growth like the rest of the market is in digital. And you've built some formulas and some practices that provide leadership, support, and actual achievement in the marketplace. So really excited to hear what you have to say, what you've been doing at your previous companies, and now what you're doing at Graham. You're not even a ringside seat, you're in the ring, and we're watching you now. So really looking forward to this. Before we jump into the hardcore substance, just be curious if you'd share a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got into where you are now, leading digital first with legacy media companies.
Thanks for having. That was a wonderful introduction, Rick. Thank you for having me on the podcast today. So a little background about me. I've been in the digital ring, so to speak, as you said, since 2010, which seems like a lifetime ago. Maybe in many ways it was. But I've actually been in broadcast my entire career since 1995, when I started at a TV station as the receptionist, because that was the only job you could get in the 90s. But over the years, I found my way to the sales part of the organization, and ultimately watching consumer needs change over my years in sales has really inspired me to continually help to stay ahead of the needs for our consumers. We've always taken our client, no matter where I've been, I've always taken our clients' needs to heart, and I've always been a solutions-oriented seller. I want to solve problems. And so we've kind of taken that over the years. I have been at a number of television station groups. Most recently, before coming here to Graham, I was at the Dispatch Media Group in Columbus, Ohio, working with the newspapers for a number of years, and then also on the TV side, and then moved on over to Graham when the Dispatch company sold the TV station to Tegna. So it's been an amazing path of helping customers solve needs, but then also helping organizations stay current with the needs of their customers, because we've all seen those needs evolve and the solutions to them evolve as well. So it's been a wonderful path of starting in digital in 2010, when it was, we were selling banner ads, and we were reporting at the time on clicks and impressions served. And I will never forget my very first digital call, and someone said, well, how did it do? Right? How did my campaign do? And again, it was a direct client, and largely I'd been in television most of my career, but in this case, we were speaking to a large direct client in Columbus, Ohio. And how did my campaign do? And I had that moment, that human moment of looking at this person who just gave us a lot of money, and I'm looking at an impression and click report, and I'm going, good, I think, good. You got a lot of clicks. I don't know.
Let's just say your campaign clicked.
Exactly. It clicked. And it was kind of a seminal moment for me to say, I would like to be able to tell them more. I would like to be able to tell them what impact this had on their actual results. And so that launched the journey of the obsession with actually providing results to our customers.
That's really interesting. I mean, and that pivot point in your career, like you're saying, it was a different life. So you kind of faced that and said, I got to change, which is rare. People don't do that. They kind of, live by the impression, die by the impression. Let's go ahead in clicks. But you said, no, I mean, let me take this on, and I need to do differently. I need to do better for our clients and, for my company. So you kind of personally went through that transformation to go from, king of linear, so to speak, to now I'm digital. With digital, we can do more. I can answer that question better. I can perform better, and I can deliver better for the client. So it's really interesting. So now you brought that in your leadership role to a number of companies, as you were saying. And I guess the challenge and opportunity is you've got a legacy sales team, not trying to be pejorative, but somebody who's, in place, in market. They've got terrific relationships. For the most part, they've demonstrated great success in selling advertising inventory of a certain type. But the world shifted, and the market's pivoted, you pivoted, and now you're leading sales teams that I'm doing what I used to do, but it's not happening as well or as fast, and I'm not sure what to do differently. What should I do differently? So people see the need for change, but people pretty much don't like change. It's pain. I have to learn. I have to do things differently. I have to take a risk. I don't know these people. I don't know these words I'm using. Help me. So, I mean, you face a room full of people, and obviously there are people that are much better adept at this. But I mean, you face a room full of people like that. It's like they're leaning on you to, what can I do? I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to not be successful. I want to help the company. It's been good to me. I want to be good to the company, my clients, and so on. So there's a human element to this as well as the business element. It's like, oh my gosh, look at our P&Ls, look at our margin, look at our budget. We need to get this machine in higher gear yesterday. So that's, a light set of challenges for you. How have you taken those on?
Very seriously, because you call out the human element of it, and that's absolutely the way we look at it, is there will come a time, and whether it's 5 years, 10 years, even 15, who knows? Everything is moving faster than it used to. But there will come a time when what we think of as the legacy TV sellers of today, that role won't be the same. And so I tell all of our leaders, that time will come, and your team will be looking at you and saying, why didn't you prepare us? And if you're not working to prepare them to have these types of conversations that we know are the future, the direct conversations, which are the future of our organization and our industry, if you're not preparing them to have those conversations, you're letting them down.
Right.
And there's resistance, right? So you as the leader have to push through the resistance of, look, we've got to do this. We've got to try this. We've got to help these customers differently because they need it. They need the help, and we're perfectly positioned to help them. We care about helping them. But it really is, Catherine Badalamente, our CEO, and I often call it a labor of love, because there is a lot of there's a lot of resistance to it. Like, but we're doing okay and things are going fine now. But as the leaders of the ship, you can see a little bit further down the road, and you can
Right.
see that the direction of the industry as we have it today is clearly changing. And so
Right.
if we're not preparing our teams for that change, even if it's uncomfortable and they don't want to, then we're doing them disservice. And so we tackle that through, Catherine and I are very transparent, right? We tackle it with, this is some of the changes. This is how much the revenue is to the company is declining through the retrans conversations, right? There's a lot of things happening that maybe those sales teams on our orgs don't have purview into, but we want to make sure they do. We want to make sure they understand, we're putting you through this for your own good. We're making you eat your vegetables for your own good, right? And so it's a lot of leading by example. Let's go do it. Let's just figure it out. Let's show people what we can do, because we have a lot of faith in our sales teams that they also want our communities to thrive. And that's our vision statement at Graham, is helping our communities thrive. And we mean our communities, and sales and businesses are a very large part of our community. And so helping our communities thrive is key. And we tell our salespeople that's really what we're about. And we hope that you are too.
Right. Yeah, I always love a chance to use a tortured metaphor. But for change and resistance, it's like the frog in the boiling water kind of thing. It's like, it's not so bad. It's not so bad.
That's
It's
right.
like, you can see where it's going though, right? So we need to do something
Absolutely.
differently here. And you point out some objective things, budgets, the ability to sell competitively against other media, pure play digital, and so on. It's like, this is our game and it's changed. There's new rules. And if you want to stay in the game, you have to play by the new rules. You have to learn the rules and learn how to be effective with them and use them to leverage your wins. So that makes a lot of sense. I mean, so some of that is, I guess, maybe going back to the human element a bit, but also that change, resistance, and the mechanism of how you encourage, hopefully most of the people to make that transition from what used to work so well to what doesn't work so well, and need to do some new things. You can have a top selling TV performer. Then you say, well, now we've got, social video, we've got our streaming operations going on, maybe fast, maybe direct to consumer, maybe some other distribution partnerships, virtual MVPDs. You mentioned some of those channels. So how do we sell that inventory? We sell it differently. The data is different. The promises are different. The way we book it is different. It's programmatic, not IO kind of things. So it's a different business process, opening up new opportunities. Does everybody make that transition, or who from the existing team, what kind of characteristics or training are they most responsive to make that transition? And then just to make the question even more complicated, where do you find new people? So you start with your existing sales team, of course. Their performers are trusted, but at some point, not everyone's going to make that transition for their own personal reasons, maybe, as well as their professional kind of aptitudes, whatever. And then you need to fill in with strong sellers that maybe come from pure play digital.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That is a big question. We're very clear. Some people don't want to make the transition and are pretty vocal about, we've actually, I've over all the years I've been doing this, had people come to me and say, this is not what I signed up for. And my answer is typically, I get that. But this is where the company has to go. This is where we have to go. What we found is that good salespeople are smart and will figure it out and care about their clients. And ultimately, that's really it. So there's the two things. The one main thing I look for in someone who I know is going to be successful in digital is they're a problem solver. If you
Right.
have a problem solver with a nice mix of intellectual curiosity. Those are my two traits that I look for in a digital seller. And mainly because the problem solver is not obsessed with selling the product. They're obsessed with solving the problem, identifying and
Right.
solving the problem. And if you can identify and solve a problem, you will be so successful in sales no matter what you sell, right?
Exactly.
And that's the big one. And then intellectual curiosity, because it's different. Every single sale you make is different
That's
than
right.
the last, exactly different. And so you have to be curious about, it's not an assembly line sale like television potentially could be, right? If it's you're kind of selling the same ads to the same, but it's not an assembly line. There is a different nuance to every single one. There's different targeting. There's different analysis, different analytics on the back end. There's so many variables inside of a digital sale, and you as a seller have to be intellectually curious about why isn't that working? I'm not angry. I'm not angry and gonna like be nervous that it's not working, but instead I'm gonna go, oh my gosh, why isn't that working? And how could I make it work better? And so those are the things that I see in a successful seller. And we are grateful to have so many of those on our teams, even on our, typical legacy TV teams. It just has to be, it has to be, they have to be comfortable with what that looks like on the digital space. As for how we get new people, that is, that I will tell you that has been more challenging over the
Yeah.
last few years because it's an interesting thing with a younger generation of people who have kind of a bad taste in their mouth for sales. And
Right.
so, and I will tell you, ironically, I was kind of the same. Here I am, chief revenue officer of a company, but when I started selling, I was kind of the same. I thought, I don't know that I want to be in sales. But as soon as I realized and flipped the script for myself and said, well, I'm not just selling something, I'm actually solving problems and helping people.
Exactly.
As soon as I did that. And so that's kind of what we do. We've also changed our comp plan so that we are not 100% commission based. And because we recognized a couple years ago that that was a barrier for people who were not incredibly comfortable coming in on what their mind said it was 100% commission, like in the fear of a lot of these younger sellers coming in was, well, I'm not going to eat, right? If I don't make money. And so
Not a good thing.
exactly. So we switched up our comp plan to kind of account for that and make sure
Yeah.
that they saw that we're valuing what you do here. With a different commission structure. So, but we're very enthusiastic about our mission and how our salespeople can help us help our customers.
Right. Yeah, it's good. And I love your concepts and the words you picked. As my two girls are growing up, when I always have this conversation where I'd say, there's two kinds of people in the world. People, one kind is a problem finder. The other kind is a problem solver. I said, trust me, you want to be in the problem solver group. And to solve a problem, if you run up something you don't know or can't fix, you don't give up. That's not the end of the journey. That's the beginning of the journey. Then you figure it out. and then you solve the problem. Yeah.
I tell my nieces and nephews are all in different fields, but I tell them when they ask for advice, career advice, I always tell them, find problems and solve them. And you will not have any problem with your career. Just find problems and help solve them positively.
Let me switch to, if I could, a couple, I guess more nuts and bolts kind of things. So people have to learn, they have to change while they're doing their main job. I mean, they have to keep bringing in revenue. And it is different, the whole workflow and what data tech and for processes and, how you build stories and deliver the success results to clients. So there's a lot of work and there are technology tools that people can use, but I know that you've been active in leveraging, AI kind of platforms, automation platforms. The idea being, if there's, I think you had just done a webinar where somebody said there were, I forget, 27 workflow steps, or I know other people have said there's 35 workflow steps. It's like, you're killing me, Smalls. If there's some way we can reduce the workflow steps and have people do actual intellectual curiosity, and do actual problem solving and following up with the client. So how are you? And I know you've tried several different solutions trying to find the best fit, but there are, and we don't need to be specific with vendors unless you feel you want to. But I mean, how do you arming yourself, the company, and your sellers with technology and tools and kind of resources to be successful?
Oh, that's a great question, Rick, because I am obsessed with streamlining because we have so many things to do now that we've got to get to a point where we're streamlining some of these processes. And so we have taken a lot of our standard processes and my team says this to me all the time, but my famous quote is, if we build it today, is this how we would build it?
Mhm.
And the answer is almost always no. And so then my second question is, okay, well, how would you build it if you built it today? And so let's investigate that. And so
Nice.
as we look through our workflows, every single person, and I asked them because they're the ones that are on the ground doing it, every single one of them would say, oh my goodness, no. I mean, if we had to build this today, it would be completely different. And so that's the beginning of it, is how would we
Right.
build it? And we don't always have the ability to bring in the things that we would like to because the connections aren't there. But boy, I will tell you that of late with the speeding up of AI, we've had a lot more opportunities to streamline things than we would have 5 years ago. And so we've done some pretty radical things. And this is radical on a TV sales force. Like, we have taken make goods completely out of the hands of our sales reps, because when we looked at it, we thought, man, that's a big old time suck for them, is doing reselling the spot that they sold already, and now they've got to resell it 5 times. And so figuring out, and with our partners, and it really is, we have wonderful technology partners who help us. As you can imagine, I'm pretty mouthy, right, about what we need and how we can help. And so, but they're always so wonderful to visualize with us, because Graham is a company we have large markets. We don't have a ton of stations. So thereby, that's kind of the perfect match for partnership with these technology companies, because we can actually make something real in Houston, Texas, that could actually really impact the industry. And so we're very fortunate to have wonderful technology partners who will help play along with us and say, this is nuts, how can we fix this? Now, a larger company may not have that luxury, because it's a lot more difficult for them to move, 85 stations forward than it is for us to move 6 forward. And so we kind of
Right.
provide a little bit of a petri dish for that. But automation on things that need to be automated is really important to me, because it's important to our large agency partners.
Right.
And so that's something we really have to lean into and help figure out for them. So that has been a project, a really fun project of mine, because I think we need it. Because to
Yep.
your point, this is different. The digital
Right.
sale is wildly
Yeah.
different, and there's more to it. And so in order for me to task these salespeople with that extra amount of work, I really need to remove some of the day-to-day work that they have. And
Yeah.
so we're making investments to do that.
That's fantastic. I have two more questions, if I could.
Mhm.
One is, of all the different things that you could be selling, obviously you've got your TV station, and you've got
Yeah.
a whole range of digital kind of video, audio, social, interactive kind of things you could do.
Yeah.
What so you have sellers that know how to sell. At some point, it's like, well, it's not a sales problem; it's a product problem, or the product has really helped me get the leverage and growth I want.
Yeah.
How do you, what do you go to market with? What's your product set that you think is like, this is a competitive differentiator? Obviously, you can bring TV to the market, which I guess more people can these days as inventory becomes adjustable through programmatic channels. But I mean, you've got the feet on the ground. You've got a lot of relationships with the TV station over the years, and you can bring in the digital kind of solutions other people can bring in, integrated cross-platform measurement, targeting, optimization, and then performance. Which kind of your favorite products to go to market with to really get the growth you're looking for?
I love that question, and I'm smiling and smirking because if anyone who works for me would know, oh my God, he did not ask about products, because I always say, the difference maker is how we look at things.
Yeah.
And so it's not actually so much the product that we bring, it's the analysis. Because this is my true belief. A client who places their buy in your hands does not care about the product. They
Right.
only care about the outcome. So hence our motto for this year, which is driven by outcomes, because I always tell my teams, if you're leading with the right types of conversations, the product is a secondary
That's
conversation.
right.
The outcomes are the first conversation. And so that product set is wildly different depending on the needs of the customer.
Yep.
And the outcomes they need to achieve. And so the outcomes will actually, that would answer your question. Depending on the outcomes of the client would answer what kind of products that I would bring. And that nuance right there is the hardest thing to teach somebody. It really is, because
It is.
Because
and it
yeah,
goes back to, go ahead, I'm sorry.
we even had a training session yesterday with digital, and I told people you need to learn marketing.
That's
That
right.
you need to be able to have a marketing conversation with your customer about solving their needs. And the product is almost in the background, because here's the other thing. As we optimize, that product set will change significantly. As
That's
we
right.
optimize the campaign, I may start you with a CTV and a geofence targeting video campaign, and then some, all kinds of email and all these different things that I think are going to work. But within 4 to 6 weeks, that will change drastically once I start learning the behavior of your customer. And so our difference maker is the way we optimize and the way we think about your campaign. And so I often tell our teams the reporting call is the most important sales call, because that's the call where I'm telling you if my hypothesis worked, and if it didn't, what we're going to do next time and how we're going to continue to iterate on your campaign. And that's our difference maker. And it's funny because over the years, I answer this question so many times for our salespeople. Well, there's nothing different about us. Like we don't have anything that anybody across the street is selling. And I was like, absolutely. And get used to that. But what we do have is we think about things differently. We approach the campaigns differently, and we deliver on results. And what we find is when we do that right, our clients don't leave.
Right.
When we're doing that right, the clients don't leave.
Yeah, I mean, and I like your angle on the marketing aspect too, because it sort of brings to mind selling features of a product versus selling benefits. And so, it's like, sell me this pen. It's like, well, it's got blue ink and it's made out of plastic. It's like, I actually couldn't care less. Well,
Right.
You can write the great American novel with this. You may be signing. Exactly.
Yes.
And so, let's focus on the benefits. Let's focus on what your business needs are, and we'll assemble the right solution set to deliver on those benefits. The benefits, not the features. What do you care how that video engagement is happening, if it's streaming or if it's linear? If it drives somebody to your tier 3 auto lot, that's what we're looking for. So that's great. Thank you so much for your generous sharing of time here, and and I love your insights and all the programs that you're doing and the change you're doing for your company, but also it percolates out into the industry, of course. Is there anything that I didn't touch on that you'd like to bring up before we close out?
I think one thing I'd really like to impress upon people is focusing on our customers. This is what I focus on with my salespeople all the time. If you focus on the customer success, not just they bought us and we did a transaction,
Right.
but if you focus on your customer success, that's where winning happens for everybody. It happens for you as a seller. It happens for your client. It happens for your company, ultimately the industry. That's where the win is. And it's just really focusing on the customer success and genuinely driving to that. That's what the success of all of it is.
Hard to question that. It sounds like a beautiful thing, and you're doing
It's
it.
exciting.
So congratulations. I know it's not easy.
Thanks, Rick. This was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephanie, thank you so much for being with us here today, sharing your experiences and insights, your leadership. And, on behalf of the industry, we need more people like you getting this done to help everybody in the whole mix here. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to either us here at BIA or Stephanie. I know you have an active speaking calendar, so that's great to see you out there and sharing this all the time. We look forward to having you join us again at our next podcast, and we'll have another exciting speakers talking about leading in local. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for tuning in to the BIA Leading Local Insights podcast. Stay a part of our community by subscribing so you never miss an episode. And we want to hear from you. What topics do you want us to dive into next? Email your ideas to podcast@bia.com.